What's up with it, everybody? I got a goat in here. Listen, so this is out of all of the guys that I watched before I got into this, man. I've had Mitch, Samoan, of course, my brother Graphic, and now I got the last goat that I wanted to get on here, man. Sanjit is in the place to be. Brother, thank you for coming on, man. I'm gonna wait for some people to pour in here because they didn't get they didn't get the memo because I started early. I got
Yeah.
so excited. We were talking behind the scenes. I said, man, I'm hitting go. I don't want to waste all this content. What's up with
Well,
you, brother?
I'm doing well, man. I'm out here in Sacramento right now, and it is hot, man. It was like 112 yesterday, and I'm from the Bay Area, so like we don't get past 70, right? Where I'm from specifically, and I'm visiting family, so it's hot. The power might go out, so if I disappear, man, it's the power. The power's went out, but
Oh yeah, the
I'm doing
grid is
well, man. I really appreciate you having me on, for reals. I'm excited. I know we've been talking about this for a while,
yeah,
and it hasn't happened yet, but I'm excited about to do it right now. So,
my brother. Well, I guess we should jump into it, right?
yep,
We have the Chargers coming up this week.
yep,
To me, this game means a lot more than just another game because this is a game to where if we lose this game, we could probably be last in the division to start the year off. And all of these divisional games are at a premium this year, man.
yep.
I mean, what do you see it being our biggest hurdle to win this game, man?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because when you really think about it, the Raiders have a new scheme, right? We got the entire new coaching staff coming in. Patrick Graham's doing his thing, but more than Patrick Graham, it's like, how are these guys all going to gel together, right? Because we didn't see him in preseason, right? We don't know what Maxx Crosby and Chandler Jones are going to do with Patrick Graham and having Johnathan Abram blitz off the edge. We don't know what's going to happen with all these different guys. We know what Justin Herbert's done last year, right? He averages like 3,800 yards, 35 touchdowns a season. The guy's a good quarterback. So for me, we got to figure out a way to slow him down. But we also got to shut the run down. I'm pretty sure Austin Eckler had a pretty solid game against the Raiders in both of his. I believe he played in both games last year.
Yeah, he destroyed us last year.
Yeah, we got to shut him down, right? Like Justin Herbert can do his thing, right? But we got to shut down the run because the last thing we can't have happen is Justin Herbert, does his thing and we can't stop the run, right? The defense has to be better. I actually saw a stat earlier. I think it was Ray the Tape that retweeted it on Twitter. The Raiders since the season 2000 have been the second worst defense since that time. The only team worse, I think, was like the Bills or something like that, right? Our defense has to step up big time.
Yeah, I think that for us to go where we're looking for us to go, they have to be in the high teens.
Absolutely.
We're looking for. We need to be probably around that 13 mark, that
Yeah.
14 mark. I mean, we like this year, from what I could see, with the scheme that Patrick Graham runs, a lot of people say that Patrick Graham runs all these multiple sets and things of that nature, but at his core, his tendency shows multiple 3-4 looks, right?
Yeah.
And then he has a tendency to like, and I saw one of your videos and I noticed this. He runs a single high safety look, and he likes to bring his hardest hitting safety as the guy that he has back there. So that would probably look to be Johnathan Abram. Are you
Yeah.
concerned about that?
Here's the thing with that, right? I would say, yeah, there's some concern with putting Abram back because Abram's not a sideline to sideline guy, but there has to be a reason. Patrick Graham prefers that guy, right? Because I was watching the final preseason game and I saw Isaiah Palomao doing the same thing, being that single high safety. The
Yeah.
guy's 6'4", right? He's not Earl Thomas, right? He's not going to run sideline to sideline. But there's a reason why Patrick Graham does it the way he does it, right? And yes, having Abram back there might be a little concerning, but at the same time, that means you get Trayvon Merrick up around the line of scrimmage. Maybe he's guarding a tight end. Maybe he's guarding a slot receiver. And I feel more comfortable with him around the line of scrimmage and having Abram play back than the other way around, right? Where maybe Abram has to cover a guy man to man, right? Um, it's hard to predict because we've seen our defense. Our defense is pretty good in preseason,
Yeah.
but we also didn't have our main guys. I know there's not a whole lot of scheming and stuff like that also goes on in preseason. I know it's very like bland offenses and defenses. What do you think about that? Like, how do you feel about that?
Like man, I feel like we served up a lot of vanilla, but the thing I'm concerned about, and what I haven't seen is how we're gonna do up front with the absence of that beef up the front. Like a lot of people like to talk about what Patrick Graham did in New York, but the one thing that wasn't a problem for that defense were guys up in the front. You know what I mean? He had interior linemen like Dalvin Tomlinson, Damon Snack Harrison, one of those years. He has Leonard Williams. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of the things that he does starts up front. So do we have the guys in the building right now that can stand up and kind of stop the run and give guys time to get after the quarterback up front? Because a lot of times I see Patrick Graham rush 4 and drop 7. You know what I mean? And a lot of times he'll man you up. And I don't really like what's happening up front. Like when I'm looking at the depth chart, and we can get into that a little bit, when I see Andrew Billings as the starting defensive tackle,
Yeah.
I'm starting to have a little issue with that.
So here's the thing, though, right? Like, I agree with you 100%, but we do have to keep in mind we don't have Aaron Donald or Christian Barmore, or Fletcher Cox. We don't have a 3-down defensive tackle. We have guys that are 1 or 2 downs, right? Like, we know that on second and short, you're going to get Johnathan Abrams and Andrew Billings. On 2nd and 10 or 3rd and 10, we're going to get some mixture of Matthew Butler, potentially Bilal Nichols, right? We'll see what ends up happening, right? But the thing is, we don't have guys that are going to be straight, pure 3-down guys.
Yeah.
So on passing situations, we'll have our 2 pass rushing defensive tackles, whoever they may be. I don't know, right? Because I haven't seen these guys play an extended amount of snaps. We haven't seen what Patrick Graham's actually going to do. One of the interesting things that I noted in this last game was Clelin Ferrell played a little bit of that 3-tech defensive tackle.
And that was weird to me because they made him drop weight. And I'm a little concerned about that. Like, why would they make him drop all of that weight if they're going to have him with his hand on the ground anyway?
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. And I don't know if, is Maxx Crosby going to kick into the inside? We're going to put Malcolm Kuntz and Chandler Jones on the field all at the same time. I don't know.
Right? The NASCAR package, right?
Yeah, so something like that, right? Get our best pass rushers on the field, because then you may not need those defensive tackles, right? I mean, how many defensive tackles do we have on the roster? I believe we only have 5 guys, right?
We have 5 guys right now, yeah.
So and that's kind of light, considering that we may be running a 3-4. We may have 5 or at least 3 defensive tackles with the nose or whatever, right? On the field in any given play. You get a guy that goes down. Now you only have 1 guy left on the sideline, right? Everyone else is kind of on the field. So
yeah,
it's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be really interesting.
Man. It is. I'm just the thing that I'm concerned about mostly with this defense is just really up front, because I think on the outsides, what we did in the offseason, we really went in a real way and addressed the secondary. Yeah. I have a lot of faith in the secondary. A lot of people don't have a lot of faith in Harmon. I do. Harmon is a starting level safety. We have options. We have younger guys behind him. Johnathan Abram is probably going to play a lot better than we think. So, and Merring's a future star. I'm fine. Hobbs, Herbert, all of those guys, I have a lot of faith in. Rock Ya-Sin. Now, Rock Ya-Sin is a guy, if he's your number 1 corner, you have problems. If he's a guy that you're going to have on the outside, guarding your Z, he's a really good press man corner. I have a lot of faith in him.
Yep.
The problem I'm having is I have a feeling that we are going to get gashed in the run game, man. I didn't really see anything about it out of Neil Farrell, because I thought Neil Farrell was going to kind of almost be a de facto replacement for Big Hank.
Yeah.
But I didn't see anything about out of Farrell that made me happy that, and I like Neil Farrell. I support him. I've given him the nickname of Neil Thick Frame Farrell, and everybody's run with it as a joke. But when it really comes down to the X and O's of things, I haven't seen anybody on this defense that is going to be stout against the run.
Yeah, it's interesting because I when we drafted Neil Farrell and when I watched him at LSU, no lie, I thought this guy's going to be a good run-stopping defensive tackle. And he was kind of the opposite in preseason. Like, he showed good pass rush. At certain times, certain plays, he was able to use his hands. He got after the quarterback a little bit. But I saw him getting pancaked, taking on double-team blocks. Like, against the Patriots, I saw their starting line put him down. I think it goes Patriots. It may have been the Dolphins. I saw him get double-teamed, and he got put down into the dirt. And we can't have that on the inside, right? And I almost agree with you that, like, do we have enough guys for run defense? Are we going to be strong enough defending the run. Um, I know one of the things Patrick Graham likes to do is he likes to show a light box, and I get it, to give up 5 or 6 yards on first and second down, get him in a 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4 situation, and then get off the field, right? But are we going to get into that, or are we going to give up first down on first down, boom, they get 12 yards, right? Are we going to be good enough? Now, obviously, we do have Denzel Perryman. He's a great run defender. But I just don't know. Like, Jane Brown didn't look too good at defending the run in the first preseason game, right, against the Jags.
I mean, Jayon Brown, I think they've kind of brought him in to be more of a coverage linebacker. I know he's going to have to defend the run and everything like that, but I think we're going to get our dividends from him just slowing down Travis Kelce. Now, I just really believe he was brought in for that distinct purpose. And now that they've lost Tyreek Hill, they're going to lean on Travis Kelce a lot more than they did previously. I really think they are. They've went out and they've addressed the wide receiver position there. There are a lot of guys. We're all thinking that they're going to take a step back. I actually think the Kansas City Chiefs are probably going to be better than they were last year because they've shown their offensive line and their defense.
Absolutely. I mean, they have one of the best offensive lines in the entire league, right? Yeah. I'd argue they have the second best center. They have a all-pro left guard. They have a right guard who they took last year in the draft, who some people are saying is already a top 10 guard. They got Orlando Brown at the left tackle, right? Which means they're going to be different this year. They may run the football, right? And if the Kansas City Chiefs play smash mouth football with Patrick Mahomes as the quarterback, how do you stop them? If they're able to run the football, right?
Yeah.
I mean, regardless of the Chiefs, right? I say they have a good offensive line. The Chargers have an equally good offensive line as well. I think Raider fans may be sleeping on the Chargers offensive line. Their offensive line's way better than our offensive line.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
They have a superstar left tackle, probably a top 5 left tackle, or he'll probably this year show everyone that he's a top 5 left tackle. Their center, I think, is a top 5 center. He's a Pro Bowl center. They got a right guard with whatever pick they took Zion Johnson with.
Yeah. That's the kid out of Boston College.
Yep. He was my number 1 offensive lineman coming out. I had him higher than Evan Neal and all the other guys, right? To me, he was the best offensive lineman coming out.
Yeah.
I think he's special, and it's crazy because the Chargers in the last 2 years in the first round took linemen, right? Who does that? Who takes offensive linemen? And they hit with their left tackle last year. I think they're about to hit with their right guard this year. So their line's good, man, and we got to figure out a way to get after it. If I can ask you a question, and I want to know your thoughts on this. Because Chandler Jones is going to play right defensive end 99%, and Maxx Crosby is going to play the left side 99%, right? Chandler Jones is going to go up against Rashawn Slater. Do you think Rashawn Slater is going to give up a sack or lose to Chandler Jones? Because Rashawn Slater shut down Yannick Ngakoue last year. Both shut him down.
I think with Chandler Jones has a lot more in his tool shed than Yannick Ngakoue.
And I agree with that. 100% agree with that.
Yeah, and I think the old Jedi Master might get one. I think he's the old Jedi Master in pass rush. I think he's due to get one against that kid.
Yeah, and I hope he does. Right, that's people might go into this game and say, I'm going to watch Derek Carr and Davante Adams. I'm going to watch Nate Hobbs. I'm going to be personally watching that Rashawn Slater against Chandler Jones.
That is my whole purpose to even breaking this down, because it's easy for us to say, Davante Adams, freaking all the offensive guys. This game is won in the trenches 98% of the times. That is where football is won. And the problem that I'm having with this Raider roster, and I know I say things like the Raider equinox is upon us. I have a lot of faith in this team. I think we're going to be a very good and competitive team. The line of demarcation between us going to the Super Bowl and us just maybe making the playoffs is up front. Yep. And we have to find ways to scheme around the talent that's not on this roster. So, that's one of the reasons why I asked you. Yep. How, on the offensive end of the ball, getting away from the defense, how do you think Jermaine Illuminor is going to fare against never getting a break going against Bosa or Mack at any given time?
Yeah, so I've spoken to an offensive lineman recently, right? And I asked him, I said, do you think Jermaine Illuminor is going to be a good football player for the Raiders, if he ends up starting? This guy told me that during practice, Jermaine Illuminor kicked Matthew Judon's ass. Every single rep, he kicked his ass. And I want you guys to think about that. Like Matthew Judon, some people say is like a top 12 defensive end. He's a good football player, right?
Yes.
And Jermaine Illuminor, say that again?
And he's a very good pass rusher.
A very good pass rusher. And Jermaine Illuminor handled him. And even as, we had a backup quarterback, even during the game, Jermaine Illuminor beat him on almost every single snap. I think one time Matthew Judon may have beat him. And it wasn't a sack or anything, but Jermaine Illuminor looked good against Judon. Now, I know Matthew Judon's not Joey Bosa, right? Joey Bosa's a top 3 or 4 pass edge. But Bosa's probably going to line up over Colton Miller most of the time, right? And I'm sure they're going to swap a lot more than the way the Raiders do, right? I think Mack's going to go on both sides. I think Bosa's going to go on both sides. It's going to be an interesting thing, but I do have faith in Jermaine Illuminor. I've spoken to Illuminor in the past, right? I had a Zoom call with him, or in the past, right? I've spoken to him, not recently. Yeah. But based off of talking to him in the past, the guy wants to be successful. The guy wants to
hear that from him.
He put the effort in, right? Like, I think there was a presser he did where he was asked about it, and he mentioned how he's never put as much effort into it until this season. This is the most effort he's ever put into it. And I'm not sure if he's even starting. I know like the depth chart that kind of came out recently had him listed as the number 1 guy, but Thayer Munford also missed the last 2 weeks of preseason, right? In the last like 3 weeks overall. I think he just got back recently, right?
Yeah. And I can't see them starting a rookie in a scenario.
I can't either. I totally agree. I think that would be a mistake.
There's been a lot of smoke on that roster. They got Hunter Renfrow returning punts and all of this nonsense.
Yeah.
I can't see that.
Yeah.
But what I can see is Jermaine Illuminor starting. And I know that's one of the big reasons why they made the move for Alex Leatherwood, or as I call him, Alex Pleatherwood. Because when he was here, Alex Leatherwood was just a guy that just was overdrafted. I really feel bad for that guy. I really do.
Here's the thing, man. I like Alex Leatherwood, right? And I'm telling you that when he was drafted, you can see my reaction videos. I was hurt, bro.
No, we all were, bro. I saw when he was trade. We were all hurt.
Yeah. I did not want him, but there's more. People think this guy just sucks. He regressed. That's why he got cut. That is not fact. People have no clue the truth about Alex Leatherwood. There's issues with the coaching staff and Alex Leatherwood. There are disagreements. There's a reason why the Raiders cut him. It's not because of his play. You can take a lineman in the 7th round. You'll give him 4 years. You can take Brandon Parker, and Brandon Parker was trash, right? He started his rookie year, I believe, at right tackle, right? Yeah, Brandon Parker did.
Not a necessity, though.
Exactly, but he struggled, right? And the thing is we kept him around to develop him. You would do the same thing with Alex Leatherwood at the very least, right? The Dolphins have Austin Jackson out of USC. I believe it's the Dolphins. He hasn't even started. They took him in the first round. He started year 1, then he got benched. They still have him. I think he's entering year 4 now, right? If you're a first-round pick, you're staying on a roster. Alex Leatherwood was not cut because he's not a good football player, or he can't develop into that, right? There's deeper things with the coaching staff that was going on, right? And that's a fact, 100% confirmed fact, right? And I'm sure we'll hear more about it.
Yeah, I think we will. I don't think he was a bad kid. I just think that the scenario he was drafted in, like, one, the guy won the Outland Trophy as a left tackle.
Exactly. Yep.
You bring him in, you make him a right tackle. That's more of Gruden trying to take a square peg and fit into a round hole, right?
Yep.
Now, there are some players that can do that.
Yeah.
I just think that the problem was that Alex Leatherwood was never going to work himself into being a good right tackle or a good right guard. I think his skill set lies on the left side of the offensive line. They didn't give him a chance to play. I could never understand why they didn't just take him and make him a left guard and move Johnson to left guard. I could never understand that. But I just think that on this roster, there's no place to have a developmental first-round pick behind Colton Miller, because Colton Miller's not going to go anywhere.
No, exactly.
He's young. So at this point, the best scenario for him is for him to have gone to a team to sit behind a veteran and develop for a few years and get that level of aggression that he needs.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm surprised like the Cowboys wouldn't have called for Alex Leatherwood, right? Especially if they knew that, hey, maybe this guy wants to play left tackle, right? Because the Cowboys not only had obviously that's like a developmental thing. I guess it makes sense, right? They don't want to guy that's going to develop. They want a guy that's ready to start today, right? That's what they needed
Yeah.
with Tyron Smith going down. But
Jason Peters, man, I mean, the guy's 40 years old.
40, that's crazy.
The guy's 40 years old. He is the second oldest player in the National Football League behind Mr. Tom Brady. So
that's insane.
It's a 40. But see, we got to look at it from this prism. Andrew Whitworth went to a Super Bowl last year and won one at the same age.
Yeah.
So I guess, the Father Time is undefeated, but Father Time is getting held off by some of modern medicine.
Absolutely.
But so when we look at what we got here, right? We have Jermaine Illuminor, right? I don't know where Dylan Parham fits into this situation. Do they have him starting at right guard?
Not right now. He's slated as the backup left guard.
I'm surprised they didn't start him at right guard. I really am, man. I think that the best way to get that guy going is just to put him out there instead of using him as a Swiss Army knife, because I know on our roster he's our backup center. So he's our backup center, our backup left guard, right? And then we got John Simpson, we got Lester Cotton, your guy. Your guy, Lester Cotton. I mean, what do you think about Lester Cotton as the preseason went on? Because in the beginning of the preseason, Lester Cotton was looking like a world beater. But as it went on, it looked like the Cinderella story has turned back into a pumpkin and a two mice instead of horse. What do you think, man?
So here's the thing with Cotton, right? This is his fourth year, I believe, right? The thing with Cotton is he's not a first round pick. He's not a guy that started his first year. He's literally in his first year, right? This is technically his first year starting. He did look good when he came out, or in the first game, and he got worse, or at least he had some bad reps. But one of the things that I feel like happens, and I don't know if this is just like it happens on Twitter, but like the mindset of people starts shifting, right? A guy loses 1 rep, maybe he loses 2 reps, maybe he loses 3 reps, all right, and maybe he played 40 reps and he lost 3 of those 40 reps. And the mindset starts shifting in a way where people start saying this guy's trash, or this guy sucks, or this guy's having an overall terrible game. Never mind the other 25 snaps in which he was just bowling people. Never mind all those reps, right? Let's just look at the 3 bad reps and let's start this narrative. It happened with Andre James in the beginning when he took over for the Raiders. I remember someone posted a video. I think it was week 1. Tell me if you remember this. Andre James got stepped on and he got pancaked. He fell back, but it was because he was stepped on by his right guard. And the video went viral, right? Had over 100,000 views. I got tagged in it at least 100 times. And people were like, look at your guy falling. This guy sucks. He's trash. He's weak. When the coach's tape came out 2 days later, you could clearly see he got stepped on, right? From the end zone angle. It's very clear. No one cares. Everyone already got the feel-good story out of it, right? They already got the
microwave story, the microwave football eye.
Exactly.
Deal with the people don't look at nuance. They just look at the main. They act like this is the NBA. Like football is one of the hardest sports to actually see what's actually going on. It's very easy for you to turn the screen on and see LeBron James dominate. You can see that very, very clearly.
Exactly.
It's very, very hard to watch the dominance, especially up front.
Absolutely.
So that's not how I judge Lester Cotton Jr. The reps that he lost is when he lost in those reps.
Absolutely.
A couple of times he was losing to guys who probably aren't going to make NFL rosters, and that's what made me a little concerned.
Yeah, so I think the thing with Lester Cotton is he needs more reps. He needs more live reps. Lester Cotton's going to lose this year. He's going to get his ass kicked this year. It's going to happen, right? It's the same way Andre James got beat up last year, right? Andre James came in this year. He looks better. I think with Lester Cotton, we'll see the same thing. Remember, this is his first year starting. I know he's been in the league for a number of years, but you can't judge. It's the same thing as when a rookie comes in. Your first year starting, your first time actually taking active live reps, going through the entire season, right? Because this guy's going to learn things, right? He's going to learn how his body feels. He's going to learn when his elbow hurts and he has to go out there and continue to block. He'll make that shift of how to block, right? He's going to learn all these different things this season. He's going to put the effort in. He's going to work out, and he's going to come back next season in even better shape. Now, unfortunately for us, we don't want to wait until next season. We're looking at this season, right?
Yes, sir.
And it almost makes me feel like, because you mentioned Dylan Parham and how he should just start at right guard. Watching the tape of Parham at right guard, at center, and at left guard, his best fit is right guard, which makes sense. That's what he played in college, right? The guy looks really good at right guard, and I personally would start him over Cotton, right? I would, because of the upside, right? He has way more upside. Lester Cotton may be better today, right? He may be a little bit better today, but Parham has the higher upside, right? And it's just hard for me to say, like, let's just go with Parham, but we have 8 offensive linemen, I think, active right on the roster.
Yes, we
And
do.
I think you can do that because Parham can play right guard, center, left guard. Jackson Barton can play left tackle, left guard, right tackle. Illuminor can play all 4 spots minus center. So I don't know if the coaches are keeping Parham out because of that versatility he has. I just don't know, man.
I think it might be that because I don't. To be honest with you, Lester Cotton is, if he is better than Dylan Parham at this point, it's incrementally better. And if I got a guy that's a rookie that's incrementally that's incrementally under a guy who is a journeyman player, I'm gonna put my eggs in the basket of the rookie so that going forward he has that experience taking live bullets and he understands what's going on. Real quick, Sanjit, let me just read this super. I've had it up here for like 10 minutes.
Okay.
Mario Greenberry, my guy. I didn't like Carr's presser. To me, he sounded like, hey, if we win, we win. If not, we will watch film. To me, I don't like that mindset. What do you think? I mean, I just think he's not trying to give bulletin board material. I think he's about that action like Marshawn Lynch. I think this is much to do about nothing. Derek Carr has learned how to serve up a lot of vanilla. I think that's all it is, man.
Yeah, I haven't seen the presser yet, but I'm going to check it out and keep that in mind right there.
Kenny, Sanjit, stop lying. James makes terrible protection calls, and he's not a power blocking scheme center. Keep it real. Kenny hates. Listen, if there was a Andre James hate club, Kenneth is the president of that joint, Sanjay. Yeah. He does not like Andre James. He wants Dylan Parham to start at center this year. I don't know about all of that, but that's my guy, Kenny. And wait, let me see something. So, guys, Sanjay wants Parham away from center. He loves James, although James is trash. No, Kenny. Dylan Parham only had probably a handful of snaps at center when he was in Kentucky. Dylan Parham is not a center. I think that he can play center because he's such a talented lineman, but that is not the best case scenario. And I think with Andre James, initially, he didn't do well when he had a nose guard over him. When he wasn't helping out on blocks, he kind of got dominated. But I think he's kind of adjusted. He's gotten stronger. Maybe he got in the weight room. But I think Andre James on this current roster is the best option we have at center. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah. First of all, I've seen Kenny's comments. Shout out to you, Kenny. I see all your comments, man. I definitely do understand. Kenny may not like Andre James. I don't know why some people may feel like, hey, this guy can or cannot have success. At the end of the day, it's what the coaches have chosen. The coaches have given you Andre James. Unless you see something that I don't see, unless you see something that Josh McDaniels and Carmen Brasillo don't see, they've chosen Andre James. Like, he's the guy, at least for this year, right? He has to prove it this year, right? Because this is his second year. If he doesn't prove it this year, he'll be off the roster or he will not start next year, right? But
he has a parachute in his contract where they can really jettison him like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So absolutely. Now, I will say this, right? If Andre James doesn't start for the Raiders, that's because he doesn't fit our scheme. He's going to start. Andre James is going to have a long career at center. Fact, 100% fact. He reach blocks too well. He gets vertical. He's able to do a lot of really good things. Scheme specific, right? You take Jason Kelce, who's the starting center of the Philadelphia Eagles, the best center in the league, Jason Kelce. You put him in a power blocking scheme, he's going to struggle. He's not going to have the same success. The reason why he has success is because they run zone. They're a zone-heavy team. So Jason Kelce's the best center in the league, right? There are guys who are scheme-specific. It's the same thing when you take Patrick Mahomes and you say he's not going to have the same success if he was with, a different coach, right? Whoever that coach is, right? It's the same thing, right? Coaching staff, scheme, all those things matter.
Yes, sir. Right? Yes, sir. And I think we're kind of losing perspective here, right? Andre James was a guy that they decided that they could have got rid of Andre James right now. There are
Absolutely.
other guys. There were guys out there and stuff like that. The thing is, I think that the reason why this power blocking scheme was instituted here is not just because that's what they used in New England. I think the personnel we have on this roster fits that a lot better. And if we look at some of the returns we've gotten from guys like Lester Cotton, a guy like Lester Cotton, how aggressive and physical he is and how downhill he is, will never work in his own blocking scheme. This is perfect for his skill set. So these are the things we got to consider when you see this coaching staff coming in here and making the decisions they did. The one thing I love about what they did when they came in, they didn't come in on an ego trip and just get rid of all the players that they supposedly don't like and bring their guys in. These guys are terrible. They came in and they really gave everybody a shot to earn their spot. They evaluated this roster, and then what they did was they cut out the dead weight. Everything that didn't fit what they were trying to do, they got rid of, no matter how big their contract was. So it goes to show you, if somebody's on this roster, they really believe that these guys can be successful.
I want to take a second really quickly. There was a moment just recently where Josh McDaniels was asked by one of the beat writers. It was a question. The guy asked it to Josh McDaniels. He kind of implied that John Gruden and Mike Mayock were trash. So he was kind of saying, like, we're sorry that you inherited this trash and you have to clean this trash up, right? That's kind of how the beat writer asked the question to Josh McDaniels. McDaniels quickly responded with saying the pass regime actually did a great job, right? This where we're at today is because of the pass regime. And I want to take a second to shout out Mike Mayock and John Gruden, because although they messed up a lot of our first round picks, we wouldn't have Maxx Crosby and Darren Waller and a lot of the really solid players we have today without that pass regime. We wouldn't be in the spot we're in today, right? Because from when Reggie McKenzie took over to when John Gruden took over, I would argue our team was way worse when John Gruden took over than when John Gruden left and allowed Josh McDaniels to take over, right? Yep. So I do want to state that, right? It almost seems like sometimes people kind of think that, like, Josh McDaniels inherited trash with this roster, right? And that's not true.
No, the only thing, and this is where I will push back, is that I think that John Gruden, I say this all the time, John Gruden has this thing about being the smartest guy in the room. Yeah. And you can see kind of how the trend was, is that we hit on our later round picks, and we whiffed completely on 2 first-round picks, right? So what does that tell me? That tells me that John Gruden, having 51% of the personnel decisions, came in and didn't listen to his scouts and didn't listen to Mike Mayock and didn't listen to the people who were doing their job all year, and then overrode them because he had a feeling or he saw one attribute about a player that he liked, and he went and overdrafted them. And that was the problem. And if you look at what happened after that, all of the things that we've hit on, all the guys who are still on the roster, besides like guys like Klee and Abram that they really can't get rid of, or guys that I think that the scouts and Mike Mayock did their job. I think Mike Mayock did a great job. Like, as far, and we'll never know, because it was almost like Mike Mayock was here to take all the bullets for John. Yep. It seemed like that to me. If John would have never, got fired and stuff like that, and things didn't work out and they didn't make the playoffs, the first thing that was going to happen is he was going to take Mike Mayock and throw him right in front of the bus, right in front of the train, and Mike Mayock would have been gone. I believe the Maxx Crosbys of the world, and now there's one pick that was bad that Mike Mayock put his name on, and that was Damon Arnett.
Absolutely.
The rest of these guys, bro, I think, like, I can't see in what world would Mike Mayock, the way he evaluates talent, because to me, on television, he is the best talent evaluator, and I can't see him being out of that job for much longer. Yeah, some channel's gonna hire him. He's probably gonna go back to NFL Network. I don't know, but Mike Mayock, man, I can't see him looking at Devin White and knowing that we need a middle linebacker and taking Cleveland Farrell. I can't see it. I just can't see it, bro. I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm wrong, but I can't see it.
Well, one of the things is we'll never know. You're right. We will never, ever, ever know who picked who. It'll always be up in the air who picked who, right? But John Gruden did pick Colt Miller, and he did see Darren Waller, right? He saw him on the Ravens. We know the story. So yeah, there's some hits, there's some misses. I think one of the things that people don't necessarily think about is coronavirus and how the everything got canceled, right? All the pro day visits, a lot of that stuff kind of got canceled. And I think that was the 2020 draft, right? Or was it the 21 draft?
It's the 20.
20 draft. And I think that also had impacts, right? Because there's a lot of teams that had a shitty draft that year, right? I think I was looking at the Dolphins draft. They had an absolute terrible draft too that year. So there was a lot of teams that had a bad draft in 2020. Either way, we'll never know, right? We are where we're at. We have a New York team, and we're moving forward, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah. And the thing is that I don't want to do too much beating on John Gruden. It just the thing that never sat right with me with John Gruden was the fact of the way Khalil Mack left.
Absolutely.
That just turned me off right from
Absolutely.
the rip. The way they handled that pissed me off. And from there, John Gruden went from here in my eyes because I'm a little older, right? So I remember when Gruden was hired.
Yeah.
I remember I remember John Gruden's whole career. I remember when he was with the Eagles, dude. I remember when he was with the Green Bay Packers and him getting a lot of credit for Brett Favre's maturation, him and Mooch. I remember that, and I liked John Gruden the first go around.
Yeah.
The thing is that unchecked power can corrupt absolutely, man. And not having Al Davis to say no, yes, no, get the fuck out of here, all that kind of stuff was a problem with John. And that was a problem for him in Tampa Bay. And when he came back and he had total autonomy over this team, I knew it wasn't going to go well. And I was like, well, maybe it changed for him. Maybe he's going to be more inclusive. He's going to be different. It seemed like he was a little different, right? And the first thing you do is get rid of Khalil Mack. Dan Rader, he said losing Khalil Mack was my biggest issue with Gruden's first season. And that's a fact.
Yeah. Well, the second he got rid of Mack, he got rid of Cooper. We were restarting. We're rebuilding at that point, right? And they had so many assets, man, and they messed it up. Like the Cleveland Farrell pick, I'll never get over that pick.
I was like, man,
that was the worst pick. I mean, you know what's crazy is after the Cleveland Farrell pick, even the Ruggs pick, I was really disappointed with the Ruggs pick and the Arnett pick. And then the year after, I thought, all right, man, this is the year we're not gonna mess it up. And then boom, you get Alex Leatherwood. Yeah. It was just year out every year, man. It was just
I was just like, oh my God, bro. Like the Ruggs thing. Like with Ruggs, I wasn't like I want a CeeDee Lamb.
I want a CeeDee Lamb too.
I want a CeeDee Lamb, and I wanted either him or Justin Jefferson, right? Because the thing is, CeeDee Lamb was a dog, and then watching all that SEC football. Listen, Ruggs was excellent, but the problem with Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy was you couldn't differentiate who was what.
Yeah, exactly.
To me, I like, you know what I mean? And then Jerry Jeudy looked like the more productive receiver. Yeah. But when you got into it, you looked at the speed aspect. I think had Ruggs not gone into the situation he got into, Henry Ruggs would be productive. And I would love to see what it would be like to have a Ruggs on a roster with the Davante Adams. That would be unbelievable, man.
And that's the thing is I think the Ruggs pick could have worked out. I do think it was trending towards it working out, right? Obviously, we'll never know. Yeah, man. One of the exciting things about this upcoming matchup against the Chargers is, and everyone says the Chargers are this powerhouse team, right? Yeah. Great quarterback, great offensive line, pass rush is top tier. This coach, right? This because I believe Brandon Staley was with the Rams, right? He was like that Sean McVay type of.
Yeah, he actually came under Vic Fangio. Right, and then he was up under Sean McVay. Sean McVay brought him in to run a version of Vic Fangio's system. Yeah, that's how they got to the Super Bowl, and he was like the boy wonder.
And their defense was really, really, really good that year, like really good, right? I think one of the things with coming in here is we don't know if Staley's going to work out as a head coach. Right, being a great defensive coordinator is one thing, but being a great head coach is completely different. And I think people are like missing that part. Like Staley could still fail, and the Chargers could miss the playoffs again if he's not a good head coach. Right?
He's not already. We've watched him actually lose them 4 games. He single-handedly lost them 4 games last year, including the game with us when we went to the playoffs. Yep. A lot of his aggressiveness shows me that he's a guy who is a young coach. He's very, very young, and you can tell he grew up playing Madden football because some of the mistakes that he makes are things that, dude, you don't do that in real. You don't go forward on 4th and 13 in the shadow of your own end zone. You just don't do shit like that.
No,
it's aggression and stupidity. It's 2 different things. Yep. And I think if he doesn't, I think to be quite honest with you, Sanjit, I think if he doesn't get it together. I think this will be his last year being his coach. If they don't make the playoffs, they will fire him.
Yep, absolutely. I agree because you're not going to continue to waste Justin Herbert's rookie contract, right? Once he's not a rookie, Justin Herbert's not what he is, right? Quarterbacks are only what they are when they're on their rookie contract. Joe Burrow, Herbert, because afterwards they're going to be the ones that have to carry the team because they're going to get $40-50 million a year.
Yes, sir. And all of this talent that we're looking at, when we start looking at all of that talent, there's going to be a serious problem when they can't pay all of these guys. That's why they're paying Derwin James.
Yep.
The Khalil Mack is kind of a rental situation right now.
Yep.
Bosa's got paid, but then Bosa's going to want some more when he starts playing better, or if he continues to play better. So this year, like I call what we got going on now the Raider equinox. Like a lot of guys, they think it's a joke, but it's not, because everything has to line up. It's the perfect time where we actually have a quarterback. We have a great front office. We have a great coach. We have talent on the defensive end of the ball. We don't have just one pass rusher. We have three. Like this is the time. If we're going to win, we're going to win. So I think that no matter what happens, they need to push their chips to the table within the next 2 years and do the best that they can to fill whatever holes on this team to win. Because, Sanjit, I'm going to be honest with you. I think that the reason why the Chargers aren't going to the playoffs this year, and we are, and I know people are like, yo, the Chargers have the best roster in football.
Yep.
It's because of their coach.
Yep.
I think that when you talk about, everybody says Derek Carr's the fourth worst quarterback and he's the worst quarterback in this division. Some people could make that kind of argument, and I think that they're kind of crowning Justin Herbert a little too early.
Yep.
But what I think that the Chargers definitely have is they have a coach that's in the running for worst coach in the division.
That's the thing. People don't think about that, right? I will say that I think Derek Carr is the worst quarterback in this division, which it doesn't matter. You can be the best, you can be the worst. You're not going to win a division based off of where your quarterback ranks. That does not matter, right? I would argue I would rather have Sean McVay than any one player I'd rather have Sean McVay than Patrick Mahomes. Okay, if you could tell me right now for the Raiders, for the sole reason that Sean McVay is a special coach. Sean McVay is similar to Andy Reid, right? They are special coaches, right? And it's different when you're an offensive coach because we're an offensive league, right? And I say that because who cares about your quarterback? It doesn't matter. It's about your head coach. You have a good coach running the offense. You have a good coach running things, right? And the Raiders, I think, do, and I don't think the Chargers do. I really don't think the Chargers do. I won't say that because I don't follow them too closely to know exactly if their coach is good or not. But you make a good point. Who goes for it on 4th and 13? Who goes for it, right? Even against the Raiders, he called the timeout when he should have just let the play happen. You let them draw up another play. You gave him that extra time to actually come up with the play, right? Yeah,
bro. These guys are talking about like Daniel Malero. The reason why, to a point, see, it depends, right? Is Patrick Mahomes without Andy Reid? I doubt it, because Patrick Mahomes wasn't a world beater when he was at Texas Tech. So
exactly,
in the National Football League and developing young quarterbacks is everything. Like we can look at it like we can look at a player right now, and you're going to see this in the maturation of Trevor Lawrence. We're going to look at that metric now because Trevor Lawrence did not have a good coach when he came into the league, and he didn't make an impact. Now he's probably the cleanest prospect. The three biggest prospects I've seen in my lifetime, right, is Elway. I was a little kid when Elway came out, so I don't really remember what they were saying about him when he came out, but I watched Elway's whole career. I actually remember the drive. I remember actually watching that and him beating them in the Cleveland Municipal Stadium, right? But John Elway, Andrew Luck, Trevor Lawrence are the three highest graded prospects in the history of like coming out. Yeah, like it's unbelievable. I mean, even higher. Trevor Lawrence was rated, I think, higher than Peyton Manning as far as a prospect goes. I'm talking in high school. Now, coming out of college, Peyton Manning was off the charts too. But the difference is coaching. Absolutely. The difference is coaching, God. Coaching makes up for a lot of mistakes, and it's something that affects every player on the roster.
Yep.
So I think having a great coach like Sean McVay is a guy who went to a Super Bowl with a pedestrian quarterback and won a Super Bowl with a good quarterback. So that goes to show you how important.
Absolutely. The fact that he could take Jared Goff into the Super Bowl, he can take Jared Goff into the playoffs every single year. And Jared Goff's on the Lions. They won how many games? They were the second overall pick this past year, right? When Goff went to the Lions, as I get older, I learn a lot about football, right? As I'm 29 today, right? I didn't
Today?
Today I'm 29.
Yo, is today's your birthday?
No.
I was about to say, man, how you have
No.
a goat up in here? We don't. I was about to
My
say,
bad.
29. Okay.
I'm 29 today. So in terms of football, my dad didn't watch football. I only started watching football as I started playing football, right? Back in middle school, I started playing football. And that's when I got into football, right? So I don't have a long history of being into the game of football.
Yeah.
But I learned, right? I've learned a lot of things over the years. I talked to scouts. I've talked to coaches. I've talked to guys who are like super deep into the league. I talked to players. People, and no disrespect to any players, but NFL players aren't the smartest. I don't want to say they're not the smartest people. That's not what I'm trying to say. They're not the smartest when it comes to like for example, an offensive line isn't the smartest when it comes to quarterback evaluation, right? Even as they're in the league, they wouldn't know, right? And that's not a knock on them, right? I'm just saying like in general, right? And one of the things I've learned over the time is there's nothing more important than a coach. Coach is by far the most important thing. Another thing that I've learned, and this one kind of shocked me, but I think this is a fact, and you can tell me what you think about this. Not every owner cares about winning a Super Bowl.
Oh, I say that all the time.
They will take a quarterback like Kirk Cousins as long as they're in the playoffs for 10 straight years, than having a shitty team for 9 of those years and then winning a Super Bowl 1 year. Right? Because for them,
look at the Dolphins. They run the Dolphins like they have the GM of the Dolphins runs the Dolphins like he's a publicist.
Yep.
All of the moves that they make, it's all bullshit. It's just to fill that stadium up. And as long as they're making money off of that NFL team, they don't care. You have some owners who are bad owners because they don't know how to get out of the way. And you have some owners that own football teams because it's like how I own Jordans. I like to collect sneakers.
Yep.
They just they're so rich they can own a football team. It's a dream of theirs and they own it. And then you have other ones that use it as a slush fund. It's a way for them to hide the losses for their main business.
Yep.
It's great. And that's the reason why that's another part of the Raider Equinox. The fact that Mark Davis is a football owner. He doesn't have a whole bunch of other businesses.
Yep.
This is his business.
Yep.
Football and the Las Vegas Raiders are his business. It's his birthright. He wants to win, and you know he wants to win. And
so let me ask you a question about that. If you told Mark Davis, all right, Mark, from today for the next 30 years, you have 2 options. You can win a Super Bowl this year and then suck for the next 29 years where you're going to win 3, 4, 5 games. Or you won't win a Super Bowl for the next 30 years, but you'll make the playoffs every single year for the next 30 years. What do you think Mark Davis would pick?
I can't speak for him, bro. But I think that it makes sense for him to have that Super Bowl because if you look at our fan base, we've been living off of a Super Bowl that was won before you were born.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? I read that Super Bowl. I was such a little kid. That's the first Super Bowl I actively and vividly remember.
Yeah.
Was that Super Bowl 1984. I was a little kid, but I remember that Super Bowl. So first Super Bowl when I was understanding football, even before I started playing the game. That's the one that I remember. You know what I mean? First. And then it was the 85 Bears, and then it was the Giants in 86, and then I start remembering Super Bowls and I start playing the game and I start understanding the game. I think that the currency that you get from winning a Super Bowl is immense. But especially in a town like Las Vegas, it's such a transient town. They have to win now.
Yep.
But financially, Sanjit, now that I think of it, I think them being competitive would garner him more dividends on the business end.
And that's the thing, right? I know Mark Davis wants to win. I know he loves the Raiders, but I think he would rather have 30 years of success, right? Because let me ask you this scenario, right? I think a team that's invested in winning Super Bowls is the San Francisco 49ers, right? Since the Raiders have had Derek Carr, the Niners are now on to their 4th quarterback.
Yeah.
Right? They don't care. If you're not a quarterback that's going to win, they move on. Right? And I know the Niners have done a good job building a roster, but part of building a roster is having a quarterback on a rookie contract. That makes a massive difference.
Yes, sir.
Right? The Raiders have Maxx Crosby, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, just those 3 guys on the top of my head. They have those 3 guys on cheap contracts. 2 of those 3 are on rookie contracts. Darren Waller's making like $7-8 million. next year their cap kicks in. We're not going to be able to bring back guys like, we traded Mullen not because of his play, but because we can't sign him next year. We don't have the cap. He's going to want at least $6 million, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to have that money for him. You look at guys like Josh Jacobs, we're not going to have money for him, right?
Yeah.
We're going to start losing a lot of these guys that we have. That's why we get Zamir White, right? That's our long-term replacement for Josh Jacobs. You can go down the roster. Johnathan Abram's not going to get signed. He can have a Pro Bowl season this year. We don't have the money. We literally do not have the money because we've already put the money into between Derek Carr and Davante Adams.
Yes,
right?
Sir.
We don't have the money to sign these guys.
Yeah, and going forward, I have no problem with them betting on the guys that they know are superstars and going and filling the roster in with guys that fit the scheme and the system. But I just think that you have to make sure when you make those big investments that they're on players that are cornerstone players, i.e. a Colton Miller, i.e. your pass rusher, Maxx Crosby's, i.e. your quarterback. That's what you got to do to build a team in the National Football League. You just got to make sure that when you make that investment, you made the right investment. And there are guys that are going to be there. And the thing with Derek Carr, the Derek Carr contract is a contract that they can get from under very, very easily.
Absolutely.
Not easily, but they can get rid of it probably easier than any other quarterback that's at his echelon in the National Football League. So the Derek Carr situation doesn't really bother me so much. And I think with the Darren Waller situation, it's going to be a lot of guaranteed money, not a big cap hit, and they're going to find a way to structure that contract properly. I don't think the Raiders don't want to pay him. I think it's what kind of contract he's looking for. You know what I mean? So I think that has a lot to do with it. But as far as we go, right, we've gone, Sanjit, we've gone all over the place, bro. And yo, you're a football savant, man. I love talking to you, bro. I've been ignoring the chat. I'm sorry. But yo, when you have a guy like Sanjit on, man, you gotta just let Sanjit go. Cause like this is great content, man.
Absolutely.
Let me read this one from Ruben Russ. With the Sparkles defense getting way better, he might actually get even more bold hyping that they can get stops. Do you think they have the same offensive coordinator this year? I mean, bro, I don't know. But what I do know is that Brandon Staley is a guy who is a bad decision maker, and I don't think he's a good head coach. And I think that when you don't grow that much as a decision maker, I kind of think you are who you are as a decision maker. Like, I didn't see bad decisions like that from Kyle Shanahan. I didn't see that stuff from McVay. Even if you want to talk about a defensive-minded head coach, I didn't see that from Mike Tomlin when he was a young head coach. I think this guy's a bad head coach, and I don't think he's going to turn it around. And the only way he's going to be able to turn it around is that his roster is so talented that they over and outperform the scheme that he's running and the decision-making he's running.
Another thing to kind of note, though, is the Chargers have Joe Lombardi as their offensive coordinator. He's a first-time offensive coordinator. He was the Saints quarterback coach for like the last 4 or 5 years. The thing with Joe Lombardi, I should say the thing with Brandon Staley is a lot of his success rides on Joe Lombardi, right? They can have a top 10 defense, but if their offense isn't clicking, and even for Staley, he has to make the right decisions. Can't go for on 13. That doesn't make sense, right? Yeah. A lot of his success is going to be how that offensive coach does, right? How the play calling is and how the offense goes, right? It's going to be interesting this year to really see how the Chargers are this year because they're like that wild card team.
Yes,
either they could be the best team or they can easily also be the fourth team. Right? Finish with like 8 or 9 wins.
Yeah, man. And see the thing about this, somebody said the other day that this division is the best division in the history of football. Now, I know that's a pretty big say right now because we don't know how these teams are going to be. Yeah. I just, look, because I remember years like in the NFC East in the 80s where you had, the Lawrence Taylor and Phil Simms and the Giants, and you had, Joe Gibbs as Redskins, and you had the Philadelphia Eagles with freaking, Reggie White and Clyde Simmons and Seth Joyner and, Randall Cunningham at quarterback. I mean, you had some pretty hellacious divisions in the NFC East for years and years and years on end, right? You had the up and coming Dallas Cowboys when they first drafted Emmett and all of them, like around the 90, 91, all of those teams were still viable.
Yeah.
Because, like around 1990, 91, they start putting the Cowboys together. They were getting all right. Troy was there. Emmett was there. You had the Giants win the Super Bowl in 1990. You had the Redskins win one shortly after that. Like, And you had the Eagles; they were still viable. They didn't get rid of Reggie White yet. So I don't know. But what I will say is this game that we haven't talked about a whole lot. This game is one of the most important games in the history of the Raiders. And everybody's gonna say you're crazy, wasted, you're going overboard. The reason why I say it is that if you lose this game or if you win this game, the perception and the optimism of this season kind of I believe in energy, man. If you win this game, the positive energy that you're gonna get going forward is going to take us into a level where, you know what I mean, we've already started. We'll be leading the division because we'll have that leg up on the Chargers. You know what I mean? And it'll take us into a place where I think mentally the team will play better. You know, mentally you'll have the media on the Raiders' backs, off their backs for a little bit. I just think that the media is waiting to pounce on this situation and shit all over it. Excuse my language, and kind of make a mockery of the Raiders. They always do. Now, I know this is not the most important game of the Raiders. It's a joke, but it's for this regime, getting a win is so important for us, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's pivotal, man. We gotta not only win this game, we gotta have success throughout the year, but it starts with that first win, right? It's going to start with this first Chargers game. It's different if it's a non-divisional opponent, but this is, you know, people are saying we can go 0-6 in the division this year. Like, people legit think that we might not win a game, and I could see that happening, right? Like, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it could happen where we win no games in the division because our division is so damn good, right? We can also go, 5-1, 6-0, possibly, right? It's gonna be very, very important, man, to get that first win, to show teams that we are the real deal, right? Because everyone thinks it's gonna be the Chargers and the Chiefs. They're gonna be the two teams competing, and the Raiders and even the Broncos are taking a back seat, and they'll probably miss the playoffs. This is the year,
and that's what everybody thinks. Let me get to a few questions, real. And Sanjit, I know you were saying you might have to get out of here, bro. I don't want to keep you too long, brother. I appreciate you for even coming on my little podcast, man. But I appreciate you.
I appreciate you having me on, bro, for reals. We got like 10, 15 minutes. We're good still.
Yeah. All right, cool. Sanjit, do you think the Chargers have the experience to win it all when they haven't even shown that they can win a big game?
I'm going to say, yeah, man. I see way too often, and I'm seeing this happening right now. People are pointing to the fact that the Chargers lost against the Raiders in that final game. That's one game. Like, the ball could have flipped the other way, and the Raiders could have lost that game, right? Yeah. It's the same thing that happened in 2016. We won a bunch of games because the ball just happened to bounce our way. Yeah. And that was the difference between 2016 and 2017, right? In 2017, the ball didn't bounce our way, right? I know some people are saying, do you think that the Chargers are good, even though they haven't really shown it? They say the same thing with Justin Herbert. Is he good, although he hasn't shown it? And the thing is, in my opinion, Justin Herbert's averaged 3,800 yards. I'm sorry, maybe it was 4,800 yards. The guy's been a stud, right? But more than that, it's his touchdown to interception ratio has been out of control. I think this past year,
it's historic. Like he's on a trajectory to surpass Dan Marino in the first few years of his career. Like, the guy, there's probably 2 or 3 quarterbacks who's had a better start to their career than Justin Herbert, and I still have some fingers left over on one hand. So when people say that, that's retarded to say that.
No. And another thing with Herbert is, like, there's some stats that are overrated. Let's be honest. Completion percentage is overrated because a completion percentage isn't telling you if a guy is throwing the ball 15 yards or if he's checking it down, right? Even other stats like passing yards are kind of overrated because the game could be over and now you're putting up 100 yards, right, on the last 2 drives of the game, right? But touchdown to interception ratio, that's not overrated, right? Especially if you're throwing for almost 40 touchdowns and you have like 13 interceptions. That's ridiculous, right?
Yeah. So the reason why I feel like the Justin Herbert hype train, like, as far as regular season numbers, fantasy football, great. But the one thing that Justin Herbert always had an issue with when he was at Oregon was winning the big game.
Yeah.
And he's exhibited some of those traits here in the National Football League. He's just good enough to where he gets you to a certain line and he can't get over the hump. Now, I'm hoping that that's the case for us as Raiders, right?
Well, here's something I want to add really quickly. Against the Raiders, right, when we beat the Chargers in this past game, Herbert picked up multiple 4th downs In fact, Herbert didn't throw an interception and lose the game. He threw a touchdown and put them. I believe they went ahead, right? And then the Raiders drove down and kicked the field goal, or at least he tied the game. At least against the Raiders. And you can say like, oh, he's not clutch, or maybe he hasn't shown to win the big game in college. I think college doesn't really matter, right? Because let's be honest, Justin Herbert could be on Oregon, and he has no shot of beating Alabama any year over the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Right. Herbert's the real deal. There's no denying that, right? It's the same thing with Patrick Mahomes. They're the real deal. They're both top 8 quarterbacks, right? Mahomes is a top 3 quarterback. Herbert could jump into the top 5 conversation at the end of this year, right? There's no denying that.
Very, very easily. The thing about it is when people say stuff like he hasn't won anything, people used to say that about Patrick Mahomes. People used to say that about a lot of guys. People say that about Peyton Manning when he first came into the league. You don't win anything until you do. And that's the thing.
Exactly.
So I'm not judging him off that metric. What I'm going to judge him off of is the tendencies I see through him. Now, I'm not saying that a lot of it is always his fault, but I know when he was at Oregon, there was a lot of times when the money was on the table where he'd throw that untimely interception or he wouldn't make the throw. So let's hope for the sake of the Raiders that he has a little bit of that international football.
Absolutely.
Because if not, let me tell everyone something. It could be some dark days for the Raiders because we really, to be honest with you, on paper, it's debatable whether we have the 3rd worst roster in the league. Not in the league, but in this division.
Yeah.
In this division, it's no question that the Chargers 1 through 53 have the best roster in the AFC West.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So that's just an absolute fact. Mm-hmm. And then what the Kansas City Chiefs did, they've improved their roster right in our face. So the thing is, right now, we have to take advantage of what we have now. By us beating these guys and us making the playoffs, there are certain things that are going to change with that team. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to get that goodwill from ownership to just keep going and being mediocre. Things are going to change, and that'll be good for the Raiders, man. We have a lot of unproven talent, and so do they. But it's time for us to step up and win this game, man. I really, to me, and I don't want to be too hyperbolic. To me, this game is very, very important that we win, man.
Absolutely.
Yo, we got a troll in here talking about Damon Arnett and Henry Ruggs, all that nonsense. 22-point conversions help extend drives that produce 11 touchdowns and 3 field goals for 86 points. After the 12 failed attempts, the opposition scored 6 times. What are we talking about? I thought he was getting back to one of our questions. So, like Sanjit, I'm not even going to get into the chat right now, bro. I'm sorry, chat. I know it is a lot. It's almost 500 of y'all in here, man. I'm sorry I haven't really been responding, but this has been an amazing conversation with my brother Sanjit. I appreciate you for pulling up, bro.
Absolutely.
One last thing, bro. Win-loss records for the AFC West.
For the AFC West, that's tough, man. I do think that the Chiefs are going to win the division. I just feel that when it comes to coaching, it's still so important. And Andy Reid is a top 5 coach right now, active coach. I do think they're going to still win the division. Now, I don't think it's like they're going to smoke the Raiders. I think the Raiders are going to be right there too. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders end up getting ahead of them. But it's really going to come down to the last 3 to 5 weeks, right? And I think health is going to be a big part of it as well. The Raiders just don't have a lot of depth. And I think the Chiefs are really good still, right? I know you said the Chargers 1 through 53 are the best. I do agree with that because I think they have a lot of superstars, right? Derwin James, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa,
J.C. Jackson, and Asante Samuel Jr. and guys like that too.
Yeah, and they're too deep. But I think the Chiefs are right there as well. I think the Chiefs will win probably 12 to 13 games. I think the Raiders and Chargers both will probably win 10 or 11 games. Yeah. And I think it's really going to come down towards the last 2 weeks. I think it's going to be so important once December hits, early January. I think that's going to be the difference in if the Raiders get second place, maybe first place, right? I think the Broncos should be the worst team in the division, and not because they are the worst team. I think the Broncos have a really bad offensive line. Yeah. I think their offensive line's worse than the Raiders' offensive line.
Yes, it is.
On top of that, I just don't know if the Broncos have it in terms of their coach, right? We don't know if Nathaniel Hackett's the real deal. We just don't know, right?
So when you look at Russell Wilson, he left a bad situation for an even like I think defensively they have more players on the defensive
Yeah,
end.
absolutely.
He's
Yeah.
got an improvement there, but offensively, I can't say that Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler and Cortland Sutton are better than Tyler Lockett and DK Mack.
Yeah, you can't say that for sure.
So it's not like he's in a better scenario. He's going to be running for his life here in Denver. Even worse, because now he's in a division with every team has two great pass rushers, even the Chiefs. You got Frank Clark. It looks like George Karlaftis is going to be a man beast. Then you got Carlos Dunlap there, right? Then you got the Chargers with Mack and Bosa. We all know about that. Then you got us. You got Chandler Jones, Maxx Crosby, and I call him Maxx Crosby, but Maxx Crosby and Malcolm Kuntz. And not for nothing, I think Cleveland Farrell is gonna surprise a lot of people this year. I think that's one of the reasons why we kept him around. So now, he's gonna be running for his life at least 6 games out of the year, man.
Yep.
And then they don't have a cakewalk of a schedule either, man. So
absolutely,
they're I think that they're gonna finish below 500.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if that happens, man. I do think Russell Wilson is a really good quarterback. I don't know if he moved up in terms of going from Seattle to the Broncos. I do think that the Broncos do have a good roster, but I think, they need some development still. I think coaching is a big question mark. If Nathaniel Hackett turns into a top 5 coach, they're going to the Super Bowl, right? Like they're good enough, I should say, to go to the Super Bowl if he's a top 5 coach. We just don't know if that's going to be the case, right?
And you know what? Most likely doesn't normally happen like that in your first
absolutely game. Absolutely.
So it's probably not going to happen like that. Real quick, let me read this super. If Carr had the roster / coaching staff of 2016 and didn't get injured, they definitely win a chip. Bro, if it was a fifth, we'd all be drunk. I don't really like to take a time machine back to 2016 because it has no bearings on what's happening now. We don't know if Carr, how the league broke. We really don't know. We can't quantify that, bro. So I don't like really to do that. We beat the Dischargers to go to the playoffs. Herbert rank was top 5. So when we win Sunday, is Herbert still a top 5 QB? Look, all of these rankings, and I want to say this, and I know Sanjit's probably going to go, but a lot of this stuff, these rankings, the media, all this stuff doesn't mean anything. It's all bullshit. It doesn't mean anything. Everybody tries to hedge their bets, right? Like Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith's like, you going to have to watch out for the Raiders this year. The Raiders are going to be playing. Them boys down there, Maxx Crosby and Khalil Mack and them boys, because he has no idea about football. He starts talking about people that aren't even playing. Henry Rugg and those boys. They're going to be formidable. And then 2 weeks later, he'll kill us because he just hedges his bet for that sound clip for when we make the playoffs or go to the Super Bowl. They're going to go to that sound clip. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. The only thing that matters is how they play on Sunday and whether they win or not. And let me tell you something. Sanjit, myself, all the content creators, and all of you, we are all totally invested in the Raider Equinox. We want the Raiders to win. We're totally sold out for it. And there's a lot of us, man, that we spending money flying all around the country to see this team.
Yep.
And to me, Mark Davis and this organization, they better make sure that they set a winning culture. Because if you guys haven't saw, the other team that Mark Davis owns, the Aces are going to the WNBA Finals. I said, now, how do you like that? Ain't that nothing? Let's hope that we get a little bit of that Aces magic. We get a little bit of the magic from the hockey team. That as soon as they moved to Vegas, they went to a Super Bowl. Yeah. Let's hope that trend continues with the Raiders, man. Sanjit, man, brother, I really, really, really appreciate this, man. I thank you, brother. I had to get all of my goats on here before the season starts, man, and I really, really, really appreciate you, my dude.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. For reals, we tried doing this at least for a while. I've been super busy the past couple of weeks. I know we're all busy. I'm not the only one. I know you're busy too. Everyone's busy. I actually really enjoyed this, man, and I look forward to the next one. For reals, you're a super smart dude. You're doing really good things on YouTube.
You too.
I want to be a part of that with you, man. For real. So
thank you, my
keep
brother.
It up. I appreciate you having me on, bro. For real.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. And y'all, everybody who's in the chat, if you have not subscribed to myself or Sanjit is. I know y'all all subscribe to Sanjit. Come on, give me a freaking break, right? But if you're not a subscriber to either one of us, please hit that sub button. It costs you nothing, man. And look like Night Owl. Sanjit, I watch all your vids. See?
I appreciate that, bro. For real.
Yo, Sanjit, thank you, my brother, man. And yo, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get out of here, y'all. This has been another Raider Nation Unlimited. I'm your man, Wasted Talent. This is my brother Sanjit, man. Y'all peace out, man. We are out of here like yesterday, man. Wait, hold on. I got it. I'm boomering out here.